Am I the asshole for telling my mom's boyfriend his son is not my responsibility? My M20, parents divorced when I was 16, and it was messy. I live with my mom now and her boyfriend Mark, 43, and Mark's son Liam, 11. I'm in my second year of college, which is its own special kind of stress with exams and projects. The dynamic is fine, usually. Mark is okay, but he has a habit of assuming I'm a newly acquired babysitter. Liam is a good kid, but wasn't raised properly, which is another entire thing. And he's just 11, he's energetic, loud, and is very impersonal and doesn't understand the concept of personal space yet. The issue happened this past Saturday. I had a massive assignment due on Monday morning, and I was planning on spending the entire weekend at the library on campus. On Saturday morning, as I'm packing my bag, Mark comes to me to let me know he and my mom are going away, and I need to keep an eye on Liam. I was immediately stressed, so I told him I can't and that I have to go to uni to focus on my uni work. He waved me off and said it's fine, and I should take him along with me to campus and keep him busy on the tablet. Immediately I was fuck no. I'm not taking an 11-year-old kid to my university while I need to focus on a big submission. I said no, trying to be firm, saying that I cannot be responsible for him for an entire day at my uni, and I asked if he couldn't stay at a friend's or at his grandma's or mom's. Mark's face fell, and he looked genuinely annoyed. He told me it's just one day, and that trying to organize stuff with other parents and family would be too much of a hassle, and that the least I could do was help out. I couldn't take it honestly, so I snapped. I've been under a lot of pressure for printing assignments and group work, etc., and that was the last straw. I told him that Liam is his son, not mine. He is not my responsibility. I didn't choose to have a kid when I wasn't ready, and my only obligation is to get my degree and move out. They both went silent for a bit, visibly upset, and after a while Mark just said it's fine, and that I shouldn't bother asking them favors in the future. My mom later that day texted me and said I was disrespectful and hurtful, which I did lose my temper slightly, but I feel like they had no right to try and force Liam as my responsibility so last minute. Am I the asshole for what I said? Not the asshole. Be one thing if they had asked in advance and you agreed. But springing it last minute, also followed up by the emotional manipulation of, well, don't ask us any more favors? Hard pass. Not your kid, not your responsibility. Don't feel bad saying no and setting boundaries. Your education has to be the priority and come first. Not the asshole I'd text your mom. I was headed out the door to campus when he announced I was babysitting. I had specific things I needed to do, but he said I could just take Liam, who is high energy and noisy, to the campus library. So I said no. It's frustrating that Mark believes I am the on-call sitter, and whatever else I'm doing will accommodate that. If I'm going to manage graduating, I need to be able to plan around anything I do for you both. It doesn't mean I won't contribute. It does mean that I am not Liam's parent, whose care I have to schedule around. I do not think it's disrespectful to tell Mark that since it's a recurring issue, and I was upset as I have school deadlines, I can contribute in various ways, just not at the last minute, unless it's an emergency. Mark is using you and being lazy. He had other options, and this wasn't an emergency. You did well to nip this in the bud. Not the asshole. This was not an emergency. They had plenty of time to sort out childcare. Not the asshole, of course. You need to say nothing else than no. And do not forget, Mark and Liam are not your family, even by marriage to your mom yet. He is mom's boyfriend. To just presume that another adult in the home is automatically able to just take care of your child is the height of arrogance. Please remember that if they ever try to just leave Liam with you without your express consent, that is called child abandonment and is a crime. If Mark or even your mom gets pushy about it, all remind them of this fact. You only have to call the cops, who can call CPS. I'd plan on moving out as soon as you can, or perhaps move in with a more sympathetic relative until you can be independent. Edit it. Opie is male. Not the asshole. It was inappropriate for Mark to spring it on you last minute and expect you to drop everything. It's also not your fault you snapped. You tried to speak reasonably, and he didn't want to listen. You should also know that your living situation could become difficult. Be prepared by making plans. Am I the asshole for telling my mom she owes me $20,000, and that I don't owe her money for school? I, F20, and my mother, F56, have always had a pretty bipolar relationship. I grew up in a very loving household that different from what most people may consider to be standard. My dad, M66, is a paraplegic and was a stay-at-home dad growing up, making my mom the main source of income. His paralysis also means that it took a lot of effort for my mom to have my twin sister and I. Since I can remember, all the paychecks I have made have went to her to help pay for expenses. Birthday money, graduation gifts, and work paychecks have all went directly to her. She claims it's to pay off the expenses that I cause her, like food, housing, gas money, elaborate vacations, clothes, and so on. Recently I have been in college at a private university that costs quite a bit of money. My grandfather, my mom's dad, was a very wealthy person, and when he died he left my mom a very large sum of money in order to cover our college expenses, which is stated in his will. Since being in school, I have also worked 2 part-time jobs in order to pay for my own food and gas and other things. Recently, though, my mom has been demanding I pay for my college as well, about $20,000 a semester, because she didn't know that having kids meant spending this much money. I totaled up how much I've given her, and just on my paychecks over the past 3 years alone the total comes out to $30,000. I subtracted about $10,000 because I know some of it I have spent on myself. My mom responded to me pointing this out by saying that I still should take on my own responsibilities and that she won't be paying me back. I'm applying to graduate school this year and planning on moving away, so I was hoping to have enough money saved up to support myself, but without her paying me back, I won't be able to. She said if she pays me back, then that's the end of our relationship. She'll hand me a check and then cut contact completely. I told her I don't owe her money for school because my grandfather left more than enough to cover it, and she refuses to use it. She said I'm abusing her and should respect her more for choosing to support me for this long. Am I the asshole? Edit. Just to clarify, my mom and I do have good moments together. The only thing that strains our relationship is this particular issue and the fact I have a higher level education than her. Part of the reason I've been hesitant to cut contact is because I felt it was something trivial and didn't want to seem like an ungrateful brat. Not the asshole. She has a legal obligation to cover your needs until you are an adult. You weren't building up debt with her. She was fulfilling her legal obligation. I'm not sure it's worth maintaining a relationship with someone who can't see you as family, just as an expense. Not the asshole. Get a lawyer and make sure you're getting everything Grandpa left you. She doesn't get to decide if she is going to give you money that is legally yours. Who is the executor of Grandpa's will? That is, the person you need to talk to. The executor is supposed to ensure the conditions of the will are carried out, and to take appropriate action if your mother stole it. Not the asshole. You aren't abusing her, she abused you. Parents are legally obligated to provide for their minor children. You don't owe her anything for your upbringing. Not the asshole. Your mom has already spent the money your grandfather left you in his will. I told her I don't owe her money for school because my grandfather left more than enough to cover it, and she refuses to use it. Call a probate attorney. She is not doing her fiduciary duty. Not the asshole. Take the money and cut her off. She's using you. Make sure she doesn't open credit accounts under your social security number if you're in the U.S. This kind of mother is not worth having a relationship with. You're better off taking whatever money you can and starting a new life. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for what I said about the girl my brother's seeing? I went out for drinks and dinner with my brother. I'm 42 male, he's 34 male, who was in town for a few days. While we were catching up, he mentioned he'd met a girl at a bar, hooked up with her, and that they'd been texting for about a week getting to know each other. I told him that was great, wished him luck, said I'm here if he ever wants advice, and we moved on. Later in the night, after a few drinks, he randomly asked out of curiosity how young of a girl I'd ever date or hook up with. I thought it was kind of a weird question out of nowhere, but we were a little drunk, so I didn't think much of it. I said I hadn't really thought about it before, but I probably wouldn't date anyone more than 9 or 10 years younger than me. He pushed a bit and said something like, come on, so you wouldn't hook up with or date a 21-year-old if you had a ton in common and hit it off. I kind of laughed and said, hell nah, what would I even have to talk about with someone still in college? 21 is like a kid to me. He got weirdly defensive after that. I tried to move on, but he kept pressing the point and it started feeling tense. I finally said it wasn't that deep and there's no reason to argue about it. Turns out, the girl he'd mentioned earlier was 21, which explains the question. He ended the night soon after saying he needed to get some sleep. I texted him the next morning and never got a reply. He went home without calling or texting again before he left town. I didn't mean to sound harsh or judgmental. If I'd known why he was asking, I probably would have handled it differently. But I also stand by what I said, because I was just being honest about my own perspective. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Now I'm wondering if I should apologize again, or just let it go. Part of me feels like if he got that defensive, it's because he already kind of knows deep down it's not a great look. But I don't want to ruin our relationship over something small either. It's really not that serious to me, but I'm at a loss about what to do. Am I the asshole here? Not the asshole. He might hit it off with a 21-year-old. He seems about as mature as that age if he can't handle someone answering a question he asked without giving context. Not the asshole he's feeling guilty or conflicted and wanted someone to back him up. Now he is redirecting his anger at you when it should be all for him. 21 is half your age. Of course, being with someone who has half your life experience isn't something you would want to do. Give him some time to figure out where he stands in all of this. He's thinking with his libido right now, and the rest of him needs to catch up. Let him approach you when he is ready. This absolutely shouldn't ruin your relationship, but you can't control his choices. If he chooses to continue pursuing this woman, then you guys can have a sober conversation as brothers. But he's in his feels and pouting that the world is not just cheerfully assisting him in his horny delusions. Not the asshole. You told him that 21 would be too young for you, and that someone aged 21 is like a kid to you. Which, let's face it, at 42 is dead on. You literally could be that person's parent without having been a teenage parent. Now then, is 21 too young for your brother? Internet rule of thumb, which in my opinion works fairly well, is to take your age, divide by 2, and then add 7. Anything less than that starts to get into ick territory. By that rule of thumb, anyone under 28 would be too young for you, and anyone under 24 would be too young for your brother. I'd say she's still too young for your brother, but that doesn't change the fact that you weren't talking about your brother at the time. Edit, spelling correction. You reacted correctly. 34 years old dating/sleeping with a 21 years old is gross. You are not the first and last person who will point out to him that she is just a kid in comparison to him. He is upset about a simple fact that people will in fact judge him for it, so they should. Not the asshole. You answered with your own honest opinion about your preferences. If he has a problem about what you think, he should ask himself why. He asked about you, and you answered about you. He had an ulterior motive, but that's his problem. Now he's sulking, and I'm thinking that 21-year-old is suddenly looking too old for him. He's very immature. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for staying with my niece after the closest thing she has to a mother died? I have a niece, 21, Penelope. I call her my niece, but I genuinely don't know if or how we're related. Penelope lived with her grandparents from when she was 2 months old until she was 18. Once she graduated from high school, they sold their house, moved into assisted living, and bought her a nice 3-bed/2-bath house near me, around an hour away. They make sure she's doing okay financially, and I was asked to check in on her and make sure she's doing okay on her own. Until recently, that just meant stopping by with dinner once a week and helping her manage living alone. Her grandma was sick for 2 months, had 2 surgeries, spent a month in the hospital, and was being fed through a tube. Over the weekend, Penelope was staying in the hospital with her grandma to give her uncles a break. Her grandpa left at 9 and grandma was doing fine. By around 11 she was struggling to breathe, so the nurses propped her up to help her swallow her saliva, suctioned her throat, and gave her nausea medication because nausea could impact her ability to swallow. Later, she asked Penelope to lower the bed so she could lay down and go to sleep. Shortly after that she couldn't breathe, and she was in a lot of pain, so they sat her up again, suctioned the throat, and gave her pain meds. An hour later she was still in severe pain, so they gave her more pain meds. Less than 45 minutes later she stopped breathing, and they chose not to resuscitate her. Penelope is a wreck. She blames herself for making the situation worse by laying her grandma down, plus, this is the closest thing she had to a mother, and they were incredibly close. Penelope would drive down to visit her at least twice a week, and they'd talk on the phone and gossip about the aunties and the people in her facility/Penelope's school and work on a near daily basis. After her grandma died, she didn't sleep for nearly 3 days. The only thing she could eat were glucose gels if her blood sugar was low. She's type 1 diabetic, and even then I had to spoon-feed it to her. She couldn't get off the couch to take care of her dog. I chose to stay with her until she improves enough that she can stay home alone. We're already making some improvement. She'll sleep through the night if I'm in the bed with her, and we're eating a couple small meals a day. I found her a therapist, so she's going to start on Tuesday, and we'll be going twice a week. The problem is that my fiancé is upset that I'm never home except to get more clothes. He wants me to stop coddling Penelope because she's an adult and needs to know how to function on her own. Now I'm wondering if I'm the asshole for leaving my fiancé to stay with Penelope. Not the asshole, you're helping your niece while she is grieving. Your fiancé should be more compassionate. Wow, you're definitely not the asshole. Edit, holy shit. This is a lot of upvotes loudly crying face. I am jaded because when I read that your fiancé is upset that you're not home, my first thought is it because he now has to do chores like preparing food or doing laundry and dishes? Not the asshole. Your aware fiancé will have just the same attitude when /you need help. He won't coddle you, you're an adult. Do not have kids with this guy. Not the asshole for helping the niece. The problem is that my fiancé is upset that I'm never home except to get more clothes. He wants me to stop coddling Penelope because she's an adult and needs to know how to function on her own. Bloody hell. The only person who needs to learn to function on his own is that guy, preferably permanently. Did you know he was a raging asshole before this? If not, it's time for you to dodge that particular bullet. Not the asshole. A good husband would invite her into your home to give her the attention and support she needs, or even offer to go help where she is staying. Just because someone is an adult doesn't mean their heart is stone and should stop grieving because others had enough. Forget your husband and take care of Penelope. He will be fine, and he should definitely step up. Not the asshole. She is falling apart at the seams, and her grandparents got her a home near you so she can get help. Also, it's not her fault that her grandma wound up passing away. She helped her lay down so she could be comfortable. It sounds like her condition was already deteriorating, and your niece helped her feel comfortable and loved.